Wait, I gotta get rid of
Good
these.
morning. Mike Schein, are you there?
Yeah, I am here. How you doing, Gualter?
Good, brother. You ready to go Facebook Live?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Me too. First try. We're testing it out. So got it set up. It's running. Should be happening. Share on my timeline. And Facebook can go. Zoom to live. Excellent.
Awesome.
So Mike, you were just talking about your portfolio, your stock portfolio. You're readjusting it?
Yeah, so when the market went down, people say don't sell, and I completely get that advice because market bounces, and you're going to miss that bounce. But I had always wanted to buy some Tesla, and it dropped low enough that I said, you know what, I've got these stocks, and I know they'll go up, and I don't think there would have been anything wrong with keeping my other stocks, but it was just an opportunity to jump into Tesla, and
it's been a good opportunity.
It's
This
better
is over $500, right?
sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because yesterday and the day before were just crazy. So yeah,
It's been ridiculous. I did the same thing with Facebook. Obviously, I'm on Facebook all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? It's $170 right now. I'm jumping in. I bought a couple shares. Nothing where it's going to make me rich if it goes up, but it'll be a story if it goes up for the next 10, 20 years. So
yeah, that's the other part of the whole Tesla thing. I've been spending a lot of time during this whole quarantine and watching a lot of YouTube, and there's a lot of people who are bulls on Tesla. There's also a lot of people who are bears, but I look at it as a long-term hold. So,
right.
You may say, like today, I think it's at 740, and you may say today, wow, 740 is so expensive.
Right.
But when it goes to 4,000 in 2 years, are you going to be saying that 700 was expensive?
Exactly.
No, and we have to give we are not giving advice.
By any means. Hold on. Let me be the counterbalance to Tesla right now. Fundamentally, they don't make money. So there is a terrifying company to invest in. The balance sheet is complete garbage.
They started making money now. So
Have they?
started making money, and they did something that the other companies in the United States couldn't do. They shifted building some of the cars now to the new Shanghai Gigafactory.
Oh, no kidding.
Since China was ahead of us with this whole thing, they are now producing cars there, and the amount of cars they just produced was a surprise to the market. So
absolutely
part of it. Yeah. And then last night, pretty exciting. Goldman Sachs, that had been a huge bear, changed, and they have a new analyst who picked a price of $860 a share.
No kidding.
Yes.
Goldman Sachs is coming back.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs was always there, and there's like two different analysts who've been there for a long time. Now they have a new analyst in there, and he's the first one that's been. That's why it's popping this morning. Today is April 15th. Hey, tax day if we didn't.
Used to be tax day. I'm still like, my taxman's like, yeah, we don't have to do it right now. I was like, yeah, well, let's push it, bro. Push it. Make that money make interest for a few more months.
Are you paying your estimated taxes, by the way? Are you going to do that? No, you just got to push that back too. Yeah.
Push it at the day I go and I pay. So I've always done that. And I've made money off of it, right? Like it's not making a ton of money, but it's more than it would have been if it wasn't in my pocket. So I'm okay with it.
Right. So I guess we should get to the book of the week, right?
Book of the week, Richest Man in Babylon.
So I'm gonna share this.
Yeah, put it on the screen.
See this for a second.
I got it back here as well. So the Richest Man in Babylon is one of the foundational five. It is book number 5 in the foundational 5. There are a couple of really cool principles in this book. Mike, there's the 7 laws of money, the 7 laws of the principles of money. And then the 5, what were the 5? 5 laws of gold.
Oh, right. You're testing me.
Yeah.
I gotta review it, but I can tell you what really impacted me the most.
Yep.
It's a great book. It's a lot of different short stories combined together. If you don't know it, it goes back to Babylon, and you'd say, well, how can something that happened thousands of years ago help us now? But the lessons are still valuable to this day, and in fact, I didn't follow one the other day. So I can tell you a little story about it. So the story, one of the stories is about one of the characters has some money and he decides that he's going to invest, and he speaks to the shield maker. And the shield maker.
No, the shield maker's the one he made money on.
Oh, well, no, wait, not at first.
Okay.
You could correct me, but anyways, the shield maker tells him that they should buy jewels from the Phoenicians, and he says that it'll be a great investment. And of course, they send the money over there. They buy these jewels from the Phoenicians, but as he says in the book, the Phoenicians were scoundrels. Yep. He gives them just fake pieces of glass. And the lesson is you don't go to a shield maker. Correct me. Is it not the shield maker?
It was not the shield maker. It was
sword maker then?
It was the blacksmith.
Blacksmith. Okay.
They went to the blacksmith.
Yeah. And so but the point is you don't go to a blacksmith to talk about buying jewels. You talk to a blacksmith about maybe shoeing your horse or creating something that a blacksmith would do.
Like, what does a blacksmith do?
They create the horseshoes. And, I don't know if it was back in Babylon, but anyway. So the lesson there is that you don't go to someone who doesn't know. If you want to know about buying jewels, you go to a jeweler or someone who's in that area. And it's so funny because maybe this is like a month ago, somebody who is not a financial planner, who is not a stock person, who is just sort of dabbling, gave me advice on a stock. And if I had just listened to Richest Man in Babylon, I would you know what? You're not the guy that I should be talking about this.
Yep.
But instead, it was like a penny stock, under $5. So I put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
It cost me a couple of grand. Boom.
Gamble. Oh, you put too much in a penny stock.
And then I said, oh, Richest Man in Babylon is the book, and it just struck me. I was like, I didn't listen. So yeah, hugely valuable book. Such a good book.
If you're, and this is like a personal opinion, it's no rule of any kind, but if you're buying more than 5,000 shares of anything, you had better have stepped foot in headquarters, right? Yeah. If you have not stepped foot in their headquarters and talked to their CEO, do not buy 5,000 shares of anything.
That's awesome.
That's why Warren Buffett has a jet, so he can go and meet the people, like the chairman, the people who run his companies he's invested in. It's like at that level, and I've done it too. I have bought the 10,000 shares and been like, you know what, on the off chance.
I did that in the 90s in the .com thing. There was this website, I think it was called Raging Bull, and you go on there and there'd be all these penny stocks, and you'd be like, they'd be pumping them up, and I don't know if they were pumping them up just so you'd buy them and they'd sell.
They're pulling a little Wolf of Wall Street there.
Absolutely. I noticed that whenever we talk that all these are just lessons, we're constantly learning from.
Well, it's as you were saying it, right? As you were talking earlier, I was thinking that exact same story, because then he goes to the shield maker and he gives the shield maker money because he's actually going and buying materials that he's putting into use to make more shields. And then he gives him a 25% return on his money. Every time he brings the money, he makes a shield and sells them, he gives him a little more. Right. So he's like, oh, this became a much better investment. I asked the shield maker how you make more money with shields, right? So he's lending it to somebody who's able to bring the money back.
Right. He also, the one where there was the money lender who who he went to and talked to him about it, and the moneylender at first was kind of honored. Like he said, not honored, but he said nobody ever comes and talks to me.
Right.
And that was just another great story about go to the source.
Right. It's about mentors, right? Like people think that their friends know the answer to get rich, but it's like, dude, if you just came to us and asked us, right? Like, don't ask me how to make $1 billion. I haven't done it. Ask me how to make a couple million. Right. Ask Mike how to invest in stocks, real estate, and a business. Right? How to raise 5 children, do it well. Like there's things that we know because we do it. Right. And a mentor does it, has it. But if they don't have what you want, don't ask them for advice. And here's the crazy lesson. People who don't have what you want tend to give advice freely. Yeah. The less somebody has, the more advice they seem to have.
That's a key, because it's nice that people have friends, but friends are not necessarily the right resource. They're just someone to go have a beer with. Right. If they haven't succeeded in doing something that you want to do, that's not the right resource. That's not where you should be going. Go and have a beer with them, but then, and nowadays with everything with the internet and YouTube, you can find so much stuff out there on any subject. Oh
yeah. I mean, look at our friendship, right? So our friendship, actually, I can ask you advice, right? You can ask me advice. We share plentifully, and it's because we've changed the friends that we have. Yeah. It's not all friends, but you can upgrade your friends, right? If you're broke, you've got to upgrade your friends.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And you came from a networking event. I came from a networking event, right? We met each other out seeking out a better network.
Absolutely. That's valuable. Your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. So much, you go out and then you gravitate towards people who are excited about the stuff you're doing, have more knowledge. I always hear people say you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because you want other people to help you get to that next level. And that's been my whole journey, is just kind of, like I said, I think I said last week, I've only been doing this with my wife for like 2 years, like the actual investing part. I've been an attorney for a long time.
Long time.
I
noticed you're afraid to give that number out. It's been a while.
That's the Rhode Island Bar in 1990. Real estate since early 2000s, and wow. But the investment part, even though we dabbled it in the past, it's really recent. And even this podcast itself is just an opportunity for me to learn, hopefully from the people who are responding to us, which is really exciting too, because I don't claim to have all the answers. It's just,
right. That's really what this podcast allows us to do. Yeah, we're giving information. We're going to give a lot, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to bring people on who are smarter than us, so we can engage in conversation and give them a form that they're looking for, the attention of more ears and eyes. And for us, we're getting the opportunity to speak to people who normally wouldn't.
That's right. I've just been blown away, just as a little shout out for all your all the interviews you've been doing. Yeah. That's just been, I recommend anybody who's listening to this, I recommend check out Gualter's interviews with all these people, because he's talking to industry heavyweights in all sorts of areas. What was the guy yesterday? Mitch? What's Mitch's name?
Mitch Durfee.
Durfee, yeah, wow.
Awful.
So helping people get their books to bestsellers, and he was just very, just a very impressive and just valuable. There you go. I never even thought about doing a book. Now I'm thinking about, geez, maybe we should.
If you don't have a book, you're missing out on opportunities, right?
Right.
Exactly. It's one of those things that you don't know until you finally discover it, and it's like, oh man, like I get so much opportunity from the book. Where is the book?
Get that out there.
Broke to $250,000, written by Gualter Amarillo, the author. The point is to generate income, not to work.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm waiting for the sequel, $250,000 to $500,000.
It's
like in 4.
It's funny. Like I'm like, should I go from, like, at this point, should I just wait till I've made the 10 million, like get to the deca million, right? Like broke to a deca million.
Yeah.
Or because it's a year or two away, and it's like, oh, might as well just hang in there.
Yeah. So Stephen King wrote a book. I think it was the Green Mile, which became a movie.
Yep.
And when he put it out first, he said when he was a kid, they used to get these like serial books, and so you would get like one chapter, and so when he put out that book originally, you could only get like the first chapter, and he ended up, it was a brilliant marketing thing because you had to buy 10 different books that were like, I don't know, $4.99 instead of buying a whole book for $9.99, and he just kept putting them out. Now you can buy the whole book together, but you could do it that way, broke to a quarter million to half a million to a million to a decamillion, and just the journey along the way. I would read it. So
thank you, Mike. You know what's funny? We're talking about Mitch Durfee's podcast with me, and you threw me off because I was like, dude, I haven't posted that yet on Facebook.
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube.
I posted on YouTube already, and you saw it.
I felt like a loser. I was like the only one viewing it.
You're ahead. I love that. Yeah, that's all right. That's what happened there. And you're reminding me that I haven't posted it yet.
My desk is not very secure, so it looks like we're having an earthquake in Rhode Island.
It's we're shaking it around a little bit. So one of the gold principles is gold cometh gladly in increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family.
That's such a good point.
How have
every time I see people who are like in your Saturday morning class, or just talking to my daughters or whatever, that save 10% and pay yourself first is, and I practice it too. Yep. I take that money from my weekly paycheck and it goes into my Schwab account, just kind of sits there, and then we're going to do something with it. But yeah, pay yourself first.
Yep.
I think that's a real eye opener for God, I sound wicked old, but for young people. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people who don't make a lot of money say, well, I can't take 10% of my money to pay myself. I still got to pay my cell phone bill. I got to pay my insurance or whatever they're paying. But what you notice, and maybe you know the name for this trick, but that your mind switches. So I take that 10% out, and I don't even notice that I take it out anymore because it's been like a month.
You can always live on less. I don't care where you are, what your situation is. You can always live on less.
Right.
Even if we got so bad to the point where you're absolutely homeless and living in a shelter, you could still take $1 and put 10 cents aside. Like you can still do it.
Right. Yeah. Some book I was reading, the woman. I think it was The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Was talking about he had somebody, and she had like $1, so she said she put away 10 cents.
Yep.
And then by the end of the year, she was putting away $10,000 or something crazy like that. So yeah.
You start attracting it to yourself. That 10 cents. I mean, not 10 cents. 10% gets so crazy, right? Like, and like people think, oh, I only make $30,000 a year. I can't do it. Dude, it doesn't get any better at 100,000. It doesn't get any better at a $250,000, right? Yeah. Like it's still an adjustment. It's still an adjustment. Now when you're putting away $4,000 a month, it's like, wow, it's a lot of money to put away, not to have, right? Like it's all in.
It's awesome though, because it kind of frees you up. So like I said, I've been taking 10% of my paycheck, which is just a weekly paycheck, and I put it in that account. Yep. But then when I was talking to Brenda the other day, I said, why don't we just take that money and throw it on the line of credit? Because we have a line of credit on our house.
Right.
And you could take it, you could invest it, or you can pay down that line so that the next time a piece of real estate comes, you've got extra money to put down as a deposit on that house.
Exactly.
It's really freeing it up, and we're still paying our bills. So.
Right. I mean, the other side of it too is you have you're paying like 4 or 5% interest in that line.
Now it's really dropped. I think it's back to 2.75.
I wouldn't pay it off.
Because of all the easing. So it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen this statement. But I spoke to my banker, and she said, yeah, it's going down.
And this is coming from I wouldn't pay it off yet. What's his name? The money guy, the guy who's always talking about gazelle intents. He wrote the book Money. I'll think of it. I'll think of it in a minute.
Dave Ramsey?
Dave Ramsey. There you go. Full Money Makeover. That's a book. Dave Ramsey. Good job.
I can win a free class with Alchemist real estate training.
So Dave Ramsey, he's always talking about, like, you look at the interest rate, and even Hayden, like, if it's only 2% or 3%, he's like, you know what, you're gonna get a higher return somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah, get rid of debt, but at the same time, like, you could like fumble with that money and it would still make money.
Right. And that's why I personally like my HELOC on my house.
Yep.
Because if I pay it, I can pull it back out if an opportunity shows up.
How long is the HELOC? How long is that?
I think it's like 10 years is the.
Yeah. So yeah, you still got plenty of time. So it's like, yeah, if you save yourself a little interest.
We did a teaser rate, where it was 1.99%, and then it switched. Yep. But the market's been
crazy.
So low that we haven't. Yeah. So.
It's still right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually, it wasn't just a line of credit on above the mortgage. It was just a line of credit.
Nice.
So in other words, I went and I actually paid off the first mortgage. I had to instruct the bank. They said, "Oh, you don't have enough loan to value on there," and I'm like, "Yes, I do.
I have more than enough."
I said, I know what's happening. You think I want that amount above my mortgage?" I said,
right.
No, I want you to pay off my first mortgage with this line of credit. And yeah, so we've had it like that for like 5 or 6 years now.
That's a cool way to do it. That's very cool.
And then when there are opportunities,
you could jump on them.
You could jump on them. Yeah.
Like the building you just bought.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Number 2 is gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment multiplying even as the flocks of the field. And I love the way he talks, right? I love the way it's like old English in this book. So you really feel like it's like, man, like this is Babylon, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's that principle we were talking about with the shield maker. So I'll jump to number 3 is gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of wise men in its handling, which is the story about the glass and the jewels. And then gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those who are skilled in its keep. And yeah, same principle, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and gold flees from the man who would force it to impossible earnings or who would followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers who trust to its own inexperience and romantic desires and investment.
You know where I relate that to the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
So you're going along and we think real estate investing is exciting, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's fascinating.
But at the same time, if you're listening to like Bigger Pockets or if you're talking with people at a networking event, something always comes up that's like the new big thing. Let's go buy trailer parks or let's do notes investing where we can banks notes or whatever it is. And that's where you can become prey to like charlatans, like they're saying, where you
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it gets so crazy. Oh, out of state investing, right? You should be out of state. You should be doing this. And it's like, well, we're in a state where you can still do it. Why would you leave?
Did I tell you that one? I think I did, with our mutual friend, Craig.
Yep.
So I bought that place in Newport. And like a day afterwards, he was teaching a class and he goes, the one thing I would never do is buy a place that just had single apartments and no parking. And I was like, oh no, mine has single apartments, 1 bedroom. And yeah. And I was like, yeah.
But in Newport, it makes a difference.
It was fine, but yeah.
And that's the thing.
One of the things I take pride in, this is going to sound crazy, but I love Ready, Fire, Aim.
Yep.
I really, people say, well, Ready, Fire, Aim. And I think my wife balances me because
absolutely
she doesn't do that. And we're back to disc training. Yay. The same thing. But I think there's a real value sometimes in jumping, like even if your first deal is not the best deal, get into that deal,
because you'll know, right? The faster you move, the faster you'll know you got to pivot backwards, right? Like if you're going in the wrong direction, you're about to go off a cliff. Oh, well, I'm glad I found it faster so I can go in a different direction.
Right.
You know, if you buy a bad deal, well, the next deal will be better because you've learned all the lessons.
How was your first deal?
My first deal is my worst deal. My first deal was a single family home that I went and physically put $30,000 into. And when I sold it, I made $34,000. So I got like some of my money back, but you look at the mortgage, I lost money on the entire mortgage the entire time.
Yeah.
I had to work on the thing the entire time. I gutted it like worst deal I ever freaking did.
Yeah.
And thank God, like I don't own any single families right now. I'm out. I'm completely out of singles.
Good. I feel better because last week I was talking about my one in Pawtucket that everybody made money but me. So we're on the same thing, but now we both invest now and we're succeeding at it. Knock on wood. Yeah, so that's exciting.
I mean, I've had a couple of bad ones, but my worst. Your worst deal is your first deal. I mean, that's.
They also say that even if, unless I don't even know what it would be, but as long as you stay in a deal long enough, hang on. Real estate is very forgiving. I
had a single family that I owned for almost 3 years, right? The thing just didn't make money, but it didn't lose money, right? Like maybe it made me $1,000 at the end of the year, So like for me to have that money tied up, I was not interested.
Yeah.
But it didn't lose money. And I knew if I just held it long enough and I put this thing on the market every single year, see if the market would take it. It didn't. 3 years. 3 years.
Yeah.
And eventually I got my money back out of it. Right. So I sold it. I had 20,000 sitting in there. I pulled the 20,000 out and I was able to roll that into a bigger deal.
Nice. What do you call it? You call it pyramiding?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So your pyramid, you take 1 to buy 2. Right. Yeah. So in that case, I took 1 to buy 4. So it became a much better deal for me.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Or smaller ones or how did that work out?
So it's just the owner occupied property that I bought and I was able to buy all the units with very little down. I put $7,000 down. So in little bit in repairs. So I basically moved into the unit and then, it worked out.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was not a bad move. And it's like little strategies. And that's one thing I remember, like I have no properties in my name right now. I sold that house, right? I have no properties in my name again. So I can go FHA again.
Oh, right.
But I completely forget this, right? I will go, a whole 2 or 3 years and forget that I actually live in a house that I bought with an FHA loan. It's the only house in my name. Everything else is in the LLC.
Yeah.
So when I sell it, it's like, dude, I could do that again.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I obviously am a little bit older, but I always look back and say, I wish I had known about the FHA when I was younger because I would have bought, a fourplex at the time.
Yeah, so that's good advice to give to anybody, right? And if you are right now considering buying a home, you want to buy a single family, and I'm going to post something in a couple of days that talks about how women are 92% of the purchasing power because they're the burning desire, and that's what it takes, right? A desire and money, and women have the burning desire, and they usually bring half the money too. So it's like, well, I might as well.
Yeah, right.
So they're pushing towards a single family because that's what they're told to do. It's what the blueprint is. But if you could just work together to get that multifamily first, you would jump 5 years into the future in retirement, right? And if you could just delay for 2 or 3 years and just buy one multi after the other, that single family is paid for by the multifamily. As you can retire, like you can change your entire life just by one sacrifice, one slight delay, just a little accommodation, just a little discomfort.
Right.
You're already living in an apartment anyway.
Right. 5 years. 5 years, and it doesn't even have to be that bad a place. You're just saying that you have tenants.
Right.
So it's funny, whenever we were doing the meeting in Fall River.
Yep.
That was just like an easy one for me to raise my hand when someone said they didn't own any property, they wanted to get into investing. That's a no-brainer. Get that first one. I mean, especially for the people who were living in Fall River, to find a 3-family in Fall River, that's easy. Yeah. Especially when the guy standing up at the front of the room is a Fall River realtor.
Exactly. I've got you, right? It's obvious.
Let me go show you 5 places this week. We'll be under contract,
And you're a closing attorney. You see so many loans come through FHA, right?
Right.
So it's constantly top of mind. It's like, well, that's an option for people who normally wouldn't be able to afford something. Here they go. They've got an investment now.
And those were the only deals that after the 2008 crash were able to happen. There was
right now, that's all that's still closing.
Yeah, that was
conventional or FHA.
Right. And I just remember after 2008, all the lenders were getting, what do they call it, the Super Eagle or whatever it was that allowed them to do FHA. And I was kind of, I didn't do that part. I'm doing the closing part.
Right.
You couldn't miss it. You said, well,
right.
Why? Oh, I get it now. The federal government is going to back these mortgages. Exactly. So they're the only ones that, because nobody else had the ability at that time. And so actually they're going the other way now. And they raised, I think the credit score went from 580.
It did go up
to 680.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people, but you got relatively good credit. It
still works.
Speak to your mortgage person.
That's what. Speak to your mortgage person. We're not lenders. Not claiming to be in any way, but what we'll do is we give you enough of the buffet so you can go and do your own research.
Right, and that's key. Don't rely on other people, whether you're talking about buying stocks or doing the real estate. You can do your own research and then you know what you're getting into. You can't fall prey to those charlatans we were talking about.
The charlatans.
Yeah,
Trust but verify, right? Trust but verify. Make sure that the person you're getting advice from has the ability to give you that advice from a place of experience in today's current market, especially when we're talking about interest rates or products. I mean, go to a lender, but make sure that lender, and this, how do I say this, is not motivated to just put you into a box, right? Not motivated to put you in just one option. I prefer working with brokers, and I love the local banks, I do, but they only have their option.
Exactly.
Whereas a mortgage broker can go to multiple options and they have different products. And then not all mortgage brokers are created equal.
You can, just a piece of advice, you can go on Zillow and see what kind of ratings, what kind of reviews, that kind of stuff. It's also, that's one time where you can speak to a friend. If you have a friend who had a good experience and was counseled or coached well by a mortgage person, that's a good place to go. So
absolutely, go to a top realtor, somebody who's closing a lot, because they'll know the person who, like, I know the top lenders in my area who has killed deals, and I know who closes deals. You want to find that realtor who's doing enough deals to know the difference, who's going to make it go through and who's not.
Right.
Don't let a lender tell you can't do something.
And also the ones who are going to look out for you maybe a little bit better, especially if you're a newbie, it's your first house, something like that. Because I know a friend of mine who's a mortgage broker, he was saying that they don't take into account things like cell phones. Like your cell phone bill is not part of the numbers that they calculate. Right. So you might be able to afford based on an underwriter saying, yeah, you've got enough money, but in reality, do you really have enough money? Like, do they take into account that you have to pay a $300 cell phone bill? That might tip you over the top. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I love that. It's good advice to anybody who's looking to do something right now. And if you are in a position you're looking to do something right now, you definitely want to take action on these couple tips. Like Mike was just talking about earlier, how you exploded so quickly in 2 years, right? And you like almost shame yourself. Oh, I've only been in 2 years, as if time in the business matters. You have more real estate than most people who've been in it for 5 years, right? It's not about time in the business. It's about what you were doing before you jumped in. How much research were you doing? How many people did you talk to? How well was your network built? You're a closing attorney, Mike. You have the attachment in all of the business, right? You're connected to everybody. So you built yourself this powerful network, and we say your network is your net worth. And I did the same as a real estate agent. I worked with as many investors as I could, so that when I wanted to pull a tug a string, like there it was. And that's why I've exploded so quickly, and why you've exploded so quickly.
Brilliant.
It makes sense. So it's not time in the business.
Like I said last time, you hang around with people who have like like Matt Pitchney, is that?
Oh yeah.
2,000 units, so my 16 units, that's where I'm coming from. But I definitely write in my journal every day that I'm getting, more and more units.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're attracting units. And I have a post coming out in a couple of days that says successful people, this is what they focus on. And one of the things is successful people focus on number of units, right? They identify what things cost, identify the ROI, and then they say, okay, I want more of those.
Yeah.
And boom, they go after it.
And Brenda and I have seen it just because we have like 5 units and we get rent payments now. I say, well, if you have 5 of these or 16 units and it gives you X amount of cash flow every month, what happens if you had 10 or 15? Right. And you're on your way. It's very clear. It's not complicated when you see it like that.
No, exactly. It's
in the mail.
What is it? Checks in the mail. It was funny. All my checks are now direct deposit. So no, it's just money comes in the account. It's like it just trickles in.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
I remember I do miss it because like the mailbox would be every single day, like the first 2 weeks of the month. It's like every day there was another check, 4 or 5 in the beginning of the month, and there was another 4 or 5, another 4 or 5, another 4 or 5, and then one.
Yeah. Oh my God. See.
And now it's all direct deposit. So it's like money just shows up in the account and it's like, excellent. Keep coming through. It's raining on us.
That's awesome. So did you get through all the gold?
Those are the 5 laws of gold. Yep.
Because I pulled up another one that I really
7
liked.
principles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's run through those. I love this book so much. I literally will go back in an Audible and I'll listen to just the 5 laws of gold and the 7 principles, and they're like 4 or 5 minutes each.
Nice job.
And it's like so peaceful to me because it's like, oh yeah, that's right. And then you think about, where am I in my business?
Yeah.
Right. Like we're dealing with multi-millions of dollars now, and it's like, have I paid attention to this principle right now? Am I doing that?
Hey, before we get to those 7 principles, I just wanted to. Brenda and I, we read different books and we meditate in the morning and all that. Highly recommend meditation and all those, affirmations and visualization, that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
This morning I'm getting up to get ready to go do this podcast, and she's reading Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret.
Oh, nice.
And which is, the book is just a printing of his recording that you can find on YouTube. Of him just reading it. It's like a picture of him. It's not him in 1940, but it was kind of like what you were saying the other day to me. Focus on your vision. I think you texted me on a Sunday, and that Strangest Secret talks about how most men don't even wake up with a vision, or if you go down the street and knock on 100 doors, people don't know what they're doing. And I was like that for like 30 years of not really knowing. What's your focus and that. So I just thought it was appropriate that she was reading it this morning before I came to this podcast, because get your vision started first thing in the morning, every morning. Absolutely. And so I have my little postcard that I wrote down what my goal is. Keep that in a pocket, which I forgot at home, but anyway.
I love it. It's so we can talk about vision, and if all we did was talk about vision for the next 100 days or 300 days, we would manifest everything, right? Like the technical skills will come to you. Even if you're listening to us right now, it's because something in your vision says, I want what those guys have. I want wealth. I want stocks. I want real estate. I want the perfect relationships. I just want to be in better shape. I want to, more in life and experience more and be happy every day. Like me and you have never seen each other down, right? Like we're down for a second.
What's your quote? So where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Where focus goes, our attention goes, our focus goes, attention.
Yeah, your energy flows.
Flows and results show.
Oh, really? I haven't heard that. See, this is the third. I didn't catch that, but it's so true. Like there's no accident if you're listening to us. It's because it's in your vortex, and it's because you focused on it.
Yes.
That's where we're going, and just like I said, just Brenda talking about Earl Nightingale today, because we were talking about vision, and then suddenly it came up. And was it? I think it was Mitch Durfee yesterday talking about that. All these things like Grant Cardone. I recommend when Gualter puts it up to see the Mitch Durfee interview. But he talked about that all these things and all the money he spent on like Grant Cardone and all that stuff is all about mindset.
Yeah.
And that's interrelated with vision, is that when your mindset is such that I'm going to crush this goal and this is where I see myself in the future, it all comes together. So
that's exactly right.
mindset.
I was listening to, I'm trying to find it right now. I was listening to Jim Rohn this morning, and it was
I have to listen to more. I have to listen to more Jim Rohn.
I love Jim Rohn, right? Like it's how I spend every one of my days. Every morning I wake up and I go and I listen to a little bit of Jim Rohn, right? Like it's just part of what, makes me happy in the morning.
Yeah,
It gets my game going, right?
Yeah, it gets your game going. You're saying you also said Tony Robbins, you'll just put on.
Tony Robbins is another one. Oh my God, yeah. Like how you can't listen to these champions and not feel like a champion afterwards. Because the whole time they're like, you got to do it. You got to see inside you who you are. What do you want?
That's awesome.
And this morning was make a decision about who you will become in life, right?
Yep.
And I'm listening to it, and it's vision again. It's vision again. Every day, it's about getting clear on your vision. How many units is it, right? How many buildings do you want? How much cash flow? What do your tenants look like, right? Like yesterday, I was on a podcast. People are asking me, what are you doing with all your tenants right now? I'm like, dude, I'm just collecting rent. Like my tenants are good.
Nice job.
I've always had great tenants,
What am I supposed to be doing?
Right. I have the most amazing tenants. I've always said that. I've always put it out there.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
And right now we just approved, or we suggested to our property manager, and she agreed. And so we're implementing a plan to pay all of our tenants $20 extra when they pay before the 1st.
Right.
I had this 5 years ago when I was running my portfolio by myself. And as tenants have left, I never re-implemented it. But the tenants I still have from 5 years ago still pay before the 1st.
Nice.
They still pay and before the 1st. And like they'll have like little jokes with me. They're like, you know me, I like to save my money. That's why you're getting it a little early. Yeah. I'm like, I don't care what your reason is. I love it.
That's awesome. That's a great plan.
When we did the math, it's going to cost us, it's like $800 a month, right? It's going to cost us $800 a month to know that all 40,000 is in the account before the 1st.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Right? Like, it's such a peaceful feeling.
Yeah.
Knowing it's all there. There's no chasing it. It's easier for our property managers. No logistics. The money's in before busy time, right? Like she has 400 units. So our 49 units, although we're her biggest landlord, it's still always in the back of our heads that, hey, she's pretty busy during this couple of weeks. What can we do to improve her life?
Right.
And how can we improve our tenants' lives?
That's great. Nice job. Yeah. A win-win-win.
And COVID-19 gave us that little incentive to finally do it, because it's been in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like, she told me, she's like, I have no leverage against them right now. We can't, like, if they don't pay, I don't have leverage. And she's talking about other owners.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, well, I said it in the back of my head. A week went by and I finally realized this is the time to implement this, because now it's not like a painful thing to not have $20, but it is, right? That $20 means something to somebody. It's a savings. It's a benefit. So yeah, we're paying it forward. We're giving back, and we're getting what we want.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Nice job. Make your tenants happy too.
And we just went up on rent by $100 on everything anyway. So.
All right, so I got the
7 principles.
My favorite because it's so old timey. It's start thy purse to fattening.
I love these. These are my favorites.
Yeah.
These are the ones I go back to all the time. Yep.
Yeah, because when you're talking to your friends and you say, "Oh, the richest man in Babylon," and you say, "Start thy purse to fattening," get it? That's the 10% rule. So before you pay that electric bill or you pay whatever you have to pay, pay yourself first. Pay yourself the 10%, and again, you won't even notice it. We were talking earlier about that you can save money, and I know you were talking about you don't spend as much on cigars now or eating out and all that kind of stuff. But the other one, what do they call it? I think it's called the Parkinson's principle, that you spend to the money that you have, no matter what level it is.
I think it is Parkinson's, yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of the opposite, that if you pay yourself first, your expenses will go down to the level of the money that's still coming in below that 10%.
Absolutely. And Greg Cardone says, put it in sacred accounts, like just forget that the money exists, put it in there and forget it. And it works so well. It does.
I know the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind also had like 6 different accounts, right?
Yep.
Don't you have like a play money account and a
Yep.
10%? Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's how I subscribe to that model better.
Yep.
Because Richest Man Babylon was only 3 accounts. His is 5, and it allows for education and allows for play, and it separates them.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
Yeah, I liked it when I saw it because I had only seen the 10% off the top, and then he's like, well, 10% at the bottom, and it's play money, and you have to spend it by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Which was great because
right.
Might be a little bit tough to play now, but I don't know, like, figure out a way to spend that money.
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, right?
I found ways.
Go on Amazon and send out for Cuban cigars.
You know what's crazy, Mike? I love what I do so much. I am taking my play money, I'm throwing it on marketing, right? I swear to God, like, I've gotten to a point in my business where I love just I get endorphins when somebody sends me a message saying, hey, you changed my life. And so I'm like, I got a little extra money, and I'm like, dude, you know what I'm going to do with this? I'm throwing it in, right? I'm throwing it into marketing so more people can come back in.
So what was last week? Wealth Principle 11?
Double down on your marketing.
So I feel like I'm cross-marketing or I'm helping Gualter here all the time. But Wealth Principle 11, there was probably there was a bunch of people on the call anyways, and I had never seen so many people say how much they loved one of those Wealth Principle programs. So if you find it on Facebook, go find that presentation of the Wealth Principle 11 about double your marketing, and it's and you're living it, because I've been watching your Facebook and your YouTube, and you are just cranking out tons of what do they call it? Product or whatever.
Content.
Thank you.
If you saw my content schedule I put together last night, it's getting ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like I got a list.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane what I'm about to produce, man.
Yeah.
With less time that I've been putting in, because I've got a system now where everything kind of makes sense from one product. I can create all of this different content.
Nice.
And I was up till 4 a.m. this morning, working on
you and my 13-year-old son.
Yeah, we might have been doing different activities.
Yeah. He's on his cell phone,
right?
Yeah,
but it's. Thanks, man. It's something I enjoy, right? I just enjoy marketing because I know the results it's going to produce, and it's so much fun.
And it's actually being reflected in the national. I call national. You're national, but I mean, to me, you're local. But the national YouTubers on the different subjects just seem to be creating more and more content because they're inside at this. So when I watch some of the national people who maybe they put out one a week are now putting out like one a day, I was like, geez, this is just another proof that Gualter's right on the money, because these people are doing the same thing, and we're home, shelter, whatever, and you're putting out content, and that's just, you're just taking market share. So it's brilliant. Nice job.
Thank you, Mike. Because this is the time where everybody's pulling back, and it's like, explode, get it, get it now.
That's awesome.
You get it, brother.
All right, so number 2 is control thy expenditures, which is like we were saying, you don't have to buy cigars if you can't go to the cigar shop.
Yep.
Although maybe you can help out the cigar people by buying. I don't know what they're doing now. But
pay it forward, because online sales have gone up.
What's the name of the cigar shop that we met at?
It's the Old Fire Smokehouse in Fall River.
Nice.
Phenomenal guy. If you go in, tell John Brandt, Gualter and Morello, who either smile or tell you to leave, but he'll definitely take care of you.
That's awesome. So good little shout out for that. Oh, speaking of which, my brother sells coffee.
Nice.
To top restaurants in Boston, including Davio's. But right now, because the restaurants are closed, you can buy Fazenda coffee at Whole Foods. It's in there. So look for Fazenda coffee. Again, it's the coffee that's brewed in top restaurants in Boston. And it's, so that's my little plug for my brother Phil, the coffee man. So there you go.
There you go. Fazenda coffee. Can you buy it online? Is there a way to buy it online?
Yep, you can go to fazendacoffeeroasters.com.
Very nice.
Yep.
You'll be supporting Mike Schein's brother. So here's the deal, Mike. We never have to sell out because we're naturally salespeople in the first place. We're like, yeah, well, let's promote local business. I have no problem with it.
Yeah. Let me just make sure I've got the website right because I don't want to. Hang on a second.
Absolutely. While you're looking that up, what is number 3? What's principle number 3?
Oh yeah. So sorry. Fazendacoffee.com.
Fazendacoffee.com.
Yep, and you can order espresso, you can order dark roast, medium roast, light roast, all that good stuff. All right, back to these. Make thy gold multiply. And just quickly on that one, he talks about make money your slave and make its children your slave and its children's children. And that was another one that really struck me, kind of like Rich Dad, Poor Dad we were talking about last week, that you can work and you can have a job and you only have 24 hours in a day or 8 hours at work or whatever you're doing. But if you can get your money to work for you, and then the money that kicks off of that money to work for you, then now you've expanded the ability to make a lot more money than the average worker, because there's only a certain amount of hours in the day.
That's the compound effect, right? So you got money. You got lots of money, right? And you stack it up. And I love I love Feng Shui, man. I truly, genuinely believe in it. And I'll be honest, before I bought all this like prop money.
Oh, that's not real? That's not. Please come breaking into your house.
Right? So I'll let you know that this is prop money. Those are actually paper in the middle.
I gotta get some.
But before I bought these, I used to go to the bank. I'd get a stack of ones, right? I'd just get the stack of ones every week, and I take $200 bills. I put one on the top and one on the bottom, and it looked exactly the same, right? And I would just, I put it in my drawer, and then I got to the point where it looked like 100,000, right? and that's how I attracted my first 100,000.
Wow!
Like I like it was just I did it, and I was like, dude, I don't want to have. Because what's that come out to? It's almost $2,000 or $3,000. It was sitting in my house.
Right.
And I finally was like, yeah, I don't want to have this $3,000 sitting here anymore. I wanted to put it to work.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up buying all this prop money.
Prop money. I'm gonna buy some.
You know?
Yeah.
And I started with 50,000 of it, right? I was just like, yeah, 50,000. I think it cost me $25, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was working, but I was like capped at this 50,000, right? It was weird.
Right.
And so I went out and I bought a $500,000 worth. Cost me $250.
Nice.
But it's all over my house. Everywhere I look, it's just a reminder that money is so abundant, right? Like, who spends $250 on just paper?
Right. No, yeah, that's geez. So the whole point of this podcast, when you and I started talking, was about abundance,
right?
And abundance in every sense of the word. And the thing that I walk around, I got my kids singing, and I always say I'm a money magnet.
Right.
And it's so true that if you have, like, we have pictures of money around the house, and like you can print them off the internet, and it works. I mean, you can either believe in it or not, but I choose to believe in it. So if you put that kind of stuff, prop money, which I'm gonna get, or like pictures of money on like my mirror in my bathroom, see it every day, and it just it changes your mindset, because people's subconscious have weird thoughts about money, like that
Very
it's
strange.
bad, or that it's lack, scarcity.
Right.
That was actually one of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast, is get people from scarcity to abundance, to say that there's plenty, and to get me personally was to get people away from competition into the creative, because I never enjoyed being competitive with other attorneys or other investors. I feel like there's so much money out there, and what some person is, if they're successful, I want to be happy for that other person. I never like that feeling when you're competing with someone else. That's just not who I am. And so this all worked really well with the creative side. Yeah.
It's so amazing, because like I was in a very competitive business myself, being a realtor, even being a real estate investor. Like it can feel competitive at times, right?
Right.
And and it's it's just an awareness, right? That there's plenty for everyone. And my clients will always work with me. Your clients will always work with you. And they're working with us because there's something in us that is different from everybody else. And they're so happy to work with us. And we over deliver, over provide value, you know?
And it's all just a mindset shift.
Yeah.
When you sit there and you're worried and you're scarce and you're saying there's not enough deals for me and these people are getting all the deals,
Right.
that kind of stuff, it just, you are attracting more of that crap.
Right.
But when you sit there and you just take a breath and say,
Right.
there's plenty to go around. I want the other closing attorneys to be just as successful. It means that the whole market is crushing it. I want the other investors to be successful. When we go to these networking events and somebody says, I have a client of mine who got a 9-unit, like one of the first times I went to the Rhode Island RIA, and she's like the nicest person. I was like so happy for her. She's got this 9-unit. She's got like 3 properties or 4 properties now, and she's awesome. And so it's just nice to be, you're in such a better space when you're happy for other people and not, oh, they're succeeding and I'm not, that kind of thing. It's just it feels better. You're more successful.
Right. And I'm going back to when I first realized that abundance existed in real estate as an agent as well, because you get in the business, everybody says it's so competitive, right? So competitive. It's the first thing I heard. And I was like, dude, I don't like the sound of that. Or I will kill anyone in front of me. I was young and full of piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
But like what really blew up my business was I realized it's not competitive, right? Like I can take the same earth that everybody else has and I can work it better, right? I can just create investors, right? I don't need to go and compete for the same client as everybody else. I can make my own clients.
So true. Tell me what you think about this, but my thought with realtors is that if you spend enough time doing it and you commit to it as your goal, that you will be successful at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you truly care about people and their wealth, if you care about your own wealth, then you'll care about other people's wealth. If you truly care about people's wealth and development, then you can turn anyone into a buyer of real estate.
Right.
You can turn literally, I don't need a ton of people. You give me 20 people and you told me that they're broke, they have nothing. I would find a way to build businesses with them to get them to buy real estate, because that's how the mind of abundance works.
Yeah, exactly. So I was driving around yesterday with Brenda and just talking about it. I said, it seems to me that realtors, as long as you stay in it and you care, I mean, definitely, you have to care. It's not about getting the commission check. It's about taking care of someone. I think from seeing lots of realtors at closings that I see all walks of life, people look different, people act differently, but they're all successful in their own way. The ones that care about their clients, I mean, if you're just going to dial it in and say, where's my check? Maybe you'll be successful that way, but I feel like it's the ones that care will end up with being successful. And so it doesn't, you don't have to have some superpower, is my point. The same thing with attorneys. I mean, you got to be an attorney, but closing, we're all succeeding and doing our own thing. And if we care about our clients, then it shows.
Then they keep coming back to you. They use you. They send referrals to you.
Exactly.
It's all about taking care of the people that you're with. And honestly, some of the most successful people that I have talked to told me it was dialing down on the list, right? Instead of trying to serve 1,000 people, I serve 10, like you wouldn't believe, right?
Yeah.
I'm serving those 10 so strongly, and I'm no more than 10. I'm under 10.
That's brilliant, because that was like a book that you and I were talking about the other day, the 80-20 principle.
Yep.
Because I think I went to one of your Fall River classes, like the first time people were saying you said you had your first list for like wholesalers and it was like 5,000 people, and you're like, you can't service 5,000. Like, what did you say? They should have like 600 people on a list because you're going to call them over and over?
250 to 300. Okay. 250 to 300 and connect with those people.
Yeah, because if you look at the 80-20 principle, 80% of your wealth is going to come from 20% of your people. So dialing it down and saying, who are the 10 customers or even less? They're the ones who are going to give me 80%. So it's going to be less hassle, less. Yep. That's also Tim Ferriss talks about that, where he was selling his brain vitamin and he had to fire two of his clients because they were like causing all his hassle. So he got rid
And
of
then
it.
he went and exploded afterwards because now he can
Right.
spend more time on reinvesting and fixing the business, improving the business. Yeah.
So smart, because he said to one, he called both of them and he said, I had to fire you. And one backed off and said, all right, I'll just fax in orders. And the other one left. And he was okay with that because it's like you said, his business exploded. He didn't need that big guy who 20% was causing 80% of his hassle.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
And that's, I tell realtors all the time, fire your worst clients. Just get rid of them. Don't work with people that like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've had that where you're trying to, I hate to say negative things because I'm very positive, but no good deed goes unpunished.
That's right. No good deed goes unpunished.
You bend over backwards for people and then, yeah, you're better off firing that person. Yeah.
Givers, as a giver, you're always going to give, but give to other givers, at least matchers, but don't give to a taker because somebody else can. Let somebody else take care of them.
Right.
Stay in the flow with giving to givers, and
Yeah.
you'll feel better.
So awesome. Hey, by the way, I wanted to just acknowledge that Facebook thing where you were giving money to your brother and your mom.
Yeah.
That was just awesome. Made me a little emotional. So it's just so cool because there's a lot about 10% in tithing and giving to who gives you spiritual, just paying it forward and keeping the money flowing, and that was awesome. Especially when your brother, with the amp not open right now, even though he's got his new book. I ordered his book. But
thank you.
I'm sure he could use the money, and and your mom you couldn't actually give it to her because he's older.
She's older. She's concerned. So
yeah. So that's yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That was being able to do that for my family. So it was 5,000 on my brother and 13,000 on my mom. Being able to do that for them. Right. I knew I wanted to give them that money.
Yeah.
It had been sitting in the back of my head. I always wrote it down that was money that was owed to my family for just giving me the opportunity. And when this all happened, I realized, this is the time. This is the time where they're going through some tough times. I have just, I'm like Joseph in the Code of Many Colors if you're religious at all, right?
Yeah.
So we went through 7 years of like feast, and now we may be in 7 years of famine. And I've been the family member who put money aside, who's put themselves in a good position, built businesses, built relationships. Now I can give back a little bit. So
that must have felt really good.
It felt good, Mike. Let me tell you.
Well, it didn't hurt it that it was the week after you got $108,000 check.
That is correct. I mean, I've had quite a few of those over the years, these big checks, and I haven't paid that money to them. So,
Right?
So it just it's tough to to release $18,000, even for a good cause. But this was the time, right? Like this was the time, and I actually tried to give my mom $10,000 last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And she told me, she's like, no, I don't want it right now because I don't know what I would do with it. She was concerned she would lose it, it would just slip away from her. And so she rolled it back in, and I'd been paying her 14% interest on it.
Oh, nice.
Because I put her, only one other person I've ever paid that. So I've put that money aside.
Give me so much grief for that.
Actually, I'm kidding. I've paid 14 and 2 on another deal.
I'll take 7. It wasn't that big a deal.
So for anybody who doesn't know, Mike is also a hard money lender. He has given me loans. I've worked with him before, and we joke because although he's been the most expensive money that I've borrowed, I have thoroughly enjoyed having him as my lender. I know paying him goes towards his life, towards his abundance, and he was able to get the funds to me quickly in a time where I had $1 million deal, and all that was holding me up was this tiny little chunk.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll pay whatever on that money. I don't care. So Mike, and that just proves, right, abundance, right?
Yeah.
People will tell you, oh, you'll never get that for a loan. Nobody's going to lend you. Nobody's going to borrow that kind of cost.
Right.
Not true. You know, in a situation like I was where I stood to lose $2 million, yeah, I'll pay an extra couple $100 a month or an extra
Sure.
$100 a month.
Just so people know, it's just my self-directed Roth IRA. There's not a lot of money in there. And I just have like 2 or 3 people that I lend money to. And so it's not like it's private lending. And it's just, I'm just trying to grow my my Roth IRA self-directed account. Which I said we can do a class on that sometime. But,
Yeah, not trying. You're growing your Roth IRA, and that's something that a lot of people
sorry, I said the
really
word
could
private.
do.
Yeah, but it's not like a business that I'm out there.
Oh yeah, no. So Mike's
Don't send
not
me
looking to lend to you
700.
right now.
Please don't send me
Yeah.
700. I can
You
get.
start sweating. You're like, I don't know if I want to do this. But the point is, you have a knowledge of how to make money through interest. You have an understanding of it, and you've been doing it, and it works because you have the abundance mindset. We got to wrap this up because I want to talk to
We
you
didn't
about
get through our last whatevers, but guard thy treasures from loss. That makes sense. Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment.
buy real estate.
Yeah, there you go. Ensure a future income and increase thy ability to earn. So, Richest Man in Babylon, read it, listen to it. The guy's old-timey on the Audible. He's awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely a great book. It's book number 2 in the Foundational 5. Book 1 is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Book 3 is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Book 4 is Think and Grow Rich. And book 5 is The Science of Getting Rich. Mike and I were talking about competition and creation, and that's the science of getting rich 100%. If you stay in that creative thought, how can I help more people? How can I help more people? How can I help more people? Instead of competition of who's going to help me, you will absolutely have abundance. Just focus on how do you help more people and exactly what you're doing in the field that you're already in, and just increase the value you're providing to the people that are around you. Be the advancing man or the advancing woman.
Advancing man, I love that. I write that down. I am an advancing man. I love
You are an advancing man.
it.
And you advance all around you.
So before we finish, you usually you have your tagline, which you can say when we finish, but I just decided that my tagline is just massive income from passive income. That's it.
I love that. Mike, you got a tagline now. Throw it down one more time so everybody gets it.
Massive income from passive income.
I love that. That's Mike Schein signing off. This is Gualter and Merle, your real estate mentor. When you have a choice, always work with the best. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, see ya.